Hello, everyone. My name is Cassidy. I have been on Book Talk for a couple of months now. I'm on Bookstagram too, but I do like to yap. So I felt like it was time to make a booktube just in case the TikTok app does go away in the next couple of days. To introduce myself, I am a stay-at-home mom right now. I love to read, especially since having a kid. I am just reading a ton of fiction, and my husband is sick of hearing me talk about it. So I need to talk about it here. I right now really like romantasy. I definitely love like Fourth Wing, ACOTAR, all that, especially Fourth Wing right now. I'm basic, but I love it. Like I can't help it. And I think a lot of us love it. I used to be such a serious fiction reader or even nonfiction, read a ton of like anthropology, philosophy. And don't get me wrong, I still enjoy that stuff, but at this stage in my life, like I just need fun. I need magic, I need dragons, I need fae, and I think that's okay. So, for my first video, I want to talk about my December reading wrapped. And honestly, it is great to do a long form video on this because I read freaking 25 books in December. I think that might have been my best reading month ever. And trying to fit that down into like a few minutes on TikTok is tricky. Without further ado, the first thing I read this month was Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. Now, she is like kind of iffy for me. I really liked Novel Love Story, but I did not like 7 Years Slip. I feel like my opinions of her work are like the flip of what the general opinion is. I don't know. I like Dead Romantics, weirdly enough. I'm not much of a like paranormal romance type of girl. I'm very easily spooked. Like Phantasma scared me. But I enjoyed it. I don't know, something about it really hit for me. She really balanced the romance and the grief, and all of that really well, which I think is a huge strength of hers. She really deals with grief in such a beautiful and poetic way. And then next, I read Christmas Tree Farm. I really like them. They're cheesy. They're, not crazy well written or anything like that. But to me, they're exactly what they say they are. It was by far my favorite Christmas read of the season. I felt like it really nailed that cheesy holiday cute vibe without being in your face. It was actually my favorite out of that entire series. I felt like it was the most realistic and the least cheesy. I don't know. Maybe that's just because of the Christmas vibes and that's what I was expecting, but I really liked it. And then next up, City of Ruin, which is the second book in the Witchwalker series. Those are just not for me. I don't know why. They just like don't hit for me. I didn't really like Witchwalker, but I've heard such good things that I wanted to keep pushing through. I like City of Ruin even less, which was unfortunate. There's something about them is just not my style. And they got a lot spicier than I was intending. And don't get me wrong, I am no prude, but it felt like it was taking over the plot a little bit, which is like not my vibe. And then Wolf and the Witch, which I think is like the little novella, I don't even remember, even worse. Like I think I'm done. I don't know. I'm not continuing with that. And then A Crown Forged in Blood. This was an arc that I read earlier this month. It released at the beginning of December. So good, dark romantasy. I think it's her debut. Solid cliffhanger. I cannot wait for book 2. Then Games Gods Play. I ate that up. I was doing a buddy read with a couple of my friends from Book Talk, and it was challenging to slow down because it's a long book, but the chapters are really short. There's just like a ton of chapters, and it moves so quick. I can't wait for book 2. Again, solid cliffhanger. September is very far away. Then New Moon. I have a Fable book club for nostalgic books, and we are working our way through Twilight because a lot of us have never read Twilight. I somehow never read Twilight or watched the movies, so now each month we read one of the books and then we all watch the movies, and it's so fun. I had a good time. I don't know. I'm Team Jacob. I understand he's toxic, and I hear that like it gets worse, but I just can't stand behind Edward. He like really frightens me. His sparkly skin is like, that turns me off. Then I reread Iron Flame. I can't wait. I'm like dying to get Onyx Storm in my hands. My Fourth Wing obsession just keeps growing and growing and growing. The very first time I read Fourth Wing, I actually wasn't even that into it. I read it right after ACOTAR. I was like, this is not nearly as good. But the longer I have thought about Zane Ryerson and the more fanfiction I have read, the deeper that obsession goes. And it just keeps going. I think I'm actually probably going to listen to the graphic audio of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame again before Onyx Storm releases in like a week. Then I read all of Caraval. Caraval really wasn't for me. I don't know. Like I kept wanting to get into it, but I really couldn't. I did enjoy Legendary and I did enjoy Finale, but they weren't like 5-star reads or even 4-star reads. They were just okay. My favorite character by far was Jax, so I am excited to read Once Upon a Broken Heart. That was kind of the only reason I was reading them, was to get to Once Upon a Broken Heart. So I'm really looking forward to see if that delivers in the way that I'm hoping it does. But yeah, I don't know. They were a little too YA for me, I think. And I've heard so much about it being so whimsical and fun, and it was, but not as whimsical and fun as I was expecting, I guess. They just were fine. And then Spectacular, the little Christmas novella, I don't know what that was. It was randomly kind of a dark romance. I really couldn't get behind that. The illustrations were very pretty, and it was the first like illustrated book that I had read on my color Kindle, and that was fun for sure, but it almost felt like maybe she put too much work into the color illustrations and not enough into the story itself, because I was expecting like just cute holiday romance, and I guess it technically was, but it wasn't giving those vibes by any means. I read Icebreaker, I read Wildfire, and I read Daydream. I think Wildfire is my favorite out of the series. I actually really enjoyed it. I went into Icebreaker not planning to read the other two. I really thought it was going to just be like a hate read. I thought I was reading it just because everyone on Book Talk has, and it felt like a requirement to read it, but I actually really liked it. I don't know. Was it amazing prose? No. Was the plot very good? No. But the characters were fun. Like, it felt like a sweet college romance, and it read like that. I felt like it knew exactly what it was. I don't mind books that are somewhat poorly written or a little cliche when they clearly know that that's what they are. Like, I even feel that way about Fourth Wing. Like, I think ACOTAR is way better written than Fourth Wing. It has a little bit more complicated plot, like more cast of characters, more symbolism, things like that. But Fourth Wing knows what it is. Like, it knows it's a little bit campy, it knows it's a little bit cheesy, um, and it leans into that. And that I always appreciate. I feel like Icebreaker did that, and I don't really know why it gets like so much hate. Was it mostly spice? Yeah, but because I felt like that's what I knew I was getting into, I enjoyed it for what it was. And yeah, Wildfire I felt like was the strongest of the three. It felt the least cheesy and the most developed, and a little less spicy, in a good way, in my opinion. I liked them, unpopular opinion. And then from one of my book talk friends who is an indie author, I read all three of her works. So first she has the stories that tie us, and then the music that ties us, and then a little Christmas novella, The Miracle That Ties Us. I loved the music that ties us. It was so, so good. And they're interconnected romances. She's a really small author, so if you want to check her out, she is on Kindle Unlimited. I am sure she would love your support. And I'm in a traveling book club, and this month I had Circe. I read Circe a few years ago. I was not very into it despite loving Greek retellings. Something about Circe just like doesn't do it for me. I find it a little bit boring. I was really hoping that I would like it this time around, given a couple years, like different perspective. Still really wasn't for me. There was a couple really, really good lines in there and moments that I kind of wanted to see fleshed out a little bit more, but something in that book is just lacking for me. Then Metal Slinger. I was really nervous for Metal Slinger because I feel like I've been a little let down by Book Talk with these really popular romantasy books recently, like Quicksilver. I did not like Quicksilver. I'm sorry. If you liked it, I'm so happy for you, but I did not like it at all. So I went into Metal Slinger like a little bit doubtful, and it was good, but I felt really confused the entire book. I felt like I was missing something. I didn't exactly know who she was going to go for, and like not in a good way where I was like gripped. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens next. I just didn't really want to pick it up because I felt so confused. Now the ending is crazy, like everyone says, and it kind of made me realize why I felt so confused. But I couldn't rate it higher than 4 stars because of that sense of confusion, if that makes any sense. But I am very excited for book 2. And then Morningstar, which is the third book in the Red Rising trilogy and the end of the first installment. Love, 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 love. I read Red Rising, I think in October, and then I read Golden Sun in November, and I liked them, but I wasn't like fully sold. I felt like moderately confused, not crazy attached to any of the characters aside from Darrow, our main character, but Morningstar, something really clicked for me about like 10% in, and I was like, okay, I am hooked. And then now I am already like halfway through book 4. And if you don't know, Red Rising is like split into 2 separate installments. So the first 3 are on their own, and Morningstar does end on a very satisfying note. So I guess you could stop there if you wanted to. But then there are 3 more books and a 4th one to come that are set in the future. And they still follow the same cast of characters with some additional characters added and some new POVs. Very, very good. But Morningstar by far has been my favorite. I've heard Lightbringer is even better, so I cannot wait to get there. Then I read Love Always Christmas, which is just like a cheesy romance Christmas book, and it was fine. Like, it was a little maybe too cheesy for me, a little too Hallmark. Definitely don't really even remember what happened, but it was okay for the vibe. And then one more Christmas book, Neighbor Who Stole Christmas. That really wasn't for me. I really wanted to like it. It's set in Colorado. I live in Colorado. I thought the vibes were really going to deliver, but something about that Grinch retelling was like a little too much for me. Especially like the green strip show. That was like too far. And the candy cane. I really could have done without that candy cane scene. If you know, you know. Then I also read the Bible. I am not super religious. I'm kind of in like a curious stage. So I read the entire Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, day by day. I followed like a chronological order and just read a snippet every single day for the entire year. And it was really good to do that. I feel like everybody should read it, even if you're not religious. Just treat it like fiction. I feel like we all need to kind of know, because it's so ingrained into our society, whether we like to admit that or not. Yeah, that's how I treated it. I didn't really read it as a religious text. I just read it for like the story. And I had a good time, to be honest. It was definitely a tough endeavor, though. It was a lot of reading every day. Then I finished the month with Binding 13. I became swiftly addicted to Boys of Tommen. I didn't really know what I was getting into. I really knew nothing about it other than people really, really liked it. And I am not one of them. I didn't know how hard that was going to hit. But I honestly have a reading hangover after that. I like don't really want to read fantasy. I don't really want to read contemporary romance because nothing is really giving me that same vibe of those books. And don't go into them thinking that they're just romance books, because they are very focused on trauma. And the trauma is intense. I have a background as a trauma counselor myself, and some of those scenes and stories were like genuinely hard for me to listen to. So do not go into it lightly. Check your trigger warnings. But oh my gosh, are they phenomenal. I actually have already finished the rest of the series a few days into January, and 5 stars for all of them, honestly. Especially Saving 6 and Redeeming 6. Those might be 6 stars for me. I genuinely cannot stop thinking about Joey Lynch. That is everything that I read in December. I am excited to film some more YouTube videos and kind of like get used to this new platform. I have never filmed like a super long form video before, but I'm really excited to do it, and talk about everything that I read in January. Go over like my bookshelves that I just got for Christmas, deep dive my reactions to Onyx Storm, maybe like vlog my Onyx Storm reading because I plan to read the whole thing in a day. I don't know, we'll see what's to come, but I am really excited to film more in here, and I hope TikTok doesn't go away, but if it does, then hopefully we can build a new community on here.